Live from Madison, Illinois, we welcome race fans one and all to the iRacing Indy Pro 2000 Championship presented by Cooper Tires for yet another round here in the championship at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. Hello, one and all, and welcome to RaceSpotTV. My name is Nolan Rempel. I have got Lorenzo Bonda beside me in the commentary box with Hugo Luis down behind the cameras for tonight's race. So we go oval racing once more in the iRacing Indy Pro 2000 Championship, and it is a track that makes regular appearances on the Indy Pro 2000 calendar, both in iRacing and the real world alike.
Yeah, as we're seeing the calendar right here, this is the second time we're going to see an oval this season. We actually went to Charlotte Oval about 4 weeks ago, and we're now back into Worldwide Technology Raceway. We covered this last season. It was a banger of a race, and I expect the same this season as well.
And certainly not the last one we're going to as well. Don't forget the Milwaukee Mile, the penultimate race and the final race in November in just 1 month's time. Pretty much exactly. So you got a lot of exciting races coming on up for us. So we get set to kick off this second half of the season with a good old-fashioned oval race at this 1.25 mile speedway. And I'll tell you what, it is a track that is far from the easiest oval in the world. I mean, and it's so unique as well. Turns 1 and 2, of course, but significantly tighter than 3 and 4, but also banked a little bit more as well. Turns 1 and 2 banked at 11 degrees, 3 and 4 only 9 degrees. But that being said, 1 and 2 still the slow 2 corners. I think drivers backing it off about 130 and qualifying here, while in 3 and 4 they can still carry easily upwards of 140 miles an hour.
Yeah, easily, and you can kind of go between 2-3 lines, but they kind of shut themselves into a 2 line when you go into the start-finish section. And even in the back section as well, you can try to take 3 lines into 1 and 2, but eventually it funnels into a 2-line section. It's an interesting track because depending on how you take the entry of turn number 1 and 2, it's easy for the car to understeer, and you're probably going to see that happening because of the arrow wash. But it will be, I think, just like a mimic race of what we saw last season. The guys at the front, whoever is at the top, gets that clean air will be happy, and those who try to fight for clean air will be in a world of pain.
And of course, just under 1 minute now left in qualifying, and it is a 2-split week today, so this top split holding the 15 best drivers that we have on offer here for this particular race. So far, 14 out of those 15 drivers have set times within about 3/4 of a second of each other. The only driver yet to set a lap who will not be able to set a lap is Andy Corsa, who will be starting this race with the tail of the grid.
Yeah, as we're seeing kind of some new faces in here. I think in 9th place is Nicholas Sudijk, which is a regular in the IndyCar calendar. As qualifying is over, we're going to go into our grid here, Nolan, but should be, again, another interesting race at the Illinois track.
Should be a very interesting night here from Madison, Illinois. Let's take a rundown at your starting grid of the Worldwide Technology Raceway. It's Frank Dewitt up on pole position. Andrew Berry 1/10 behind him. We'll be lining up beside him on the front row. John Bodefur starts in 3rd with Matt Hollabaugh over in 4th position. It's James Watson at 5th then, and Jeffrey McClintock to round out the top 6.
Yeah, Jason Noah is in 7th with Alex May in 8th place. Nicholas Sudijk is in 9th with Stephen Thompson. That's round out the top 10. Lyubov Zolotovskaya is in 11th, and Sebastian Kinder round out row number 6.
And that leaves Jason Pendu and Brian Williams, the final drivers to set qualifying times. So we already mentioned Andy Corsa will be starting this race from the very back of the grid. The number 9 car opting not to set a time. So 50 laps getting set to get underway here in Illinois around this 1.25 mile speedway. Track temperature, same as the air temperature, 74 degrees Fahrenheit down there on the circuit for the Americans, and blowing off to the southeast for the winds at between 4 and 5 miles an hour at the moment. So overall, it's a relatively chilly day out there on the track, but I think it's safe to say it's going to be a good day as well.
It's going to be a really good day. And one thing that I think splits over here is that Nguyen actually got a pole. He was 3rd place the last time we went over here in the previous season. The previous season was Greg Sykes the pole, and Jason Owens was in 2nd. He's going to start a little bit to the back. So it's going to be interesting how Owens fares going to the middle of the pack and trying to climb up a few spots. And we have 3 more drivers in this session in comparison to what we had in the previous season. We have 14 now instead of 11.
And all 15 drivers have gridded up. We get set to go racing for 62.5 miles to be exact. Here around this beautiful 1.25 mile speedway. It's a track that I feel doesn't quite get a whole lot of recognition. I mean, it's most notable for holding open wheel events, particularly in the IndyCar categories, and of course the Road to Indy. You take a look at US F2000, which will occasionally make a few runs here. Of course, the Indy Pro 2000s make almost seasonal appearances here at this track. And don't forget, of course, the IndyCar series. Even the IndyCar series, both Oval and Opal will have runs here. I mean, heck, even the Lionheart IndyCar series has had their own race here in several of their series, as a matter of fact. So you have a lot of drivers in the open wheel categories, especially in the Road to Indy series, that tend to like this facility.
It's a very popular facility. It's one that is highly challenging. You don't see a lot of you see a lot of overtakes, but what happens? This is more of a strategy and an attrition race of sorts. So if you are in the front, you should just maintain that front. You should be set for it all day long. But I like the strategies, I think, more than some other tracks in these short like ovals, because this is a little bit longer than a mile. So it's a good track, but let's see what the drivers will do over here as the pace car is about to go in.
The pace car is off. That leaves it in the hands of Frank Newen, who holds the field late. And now the green flag drops, and we go racing for 50 laps on the Worldwide Technology Raceway. Already a clean getaway for the top 2. Down to the turn number 1. Matt Hollabaugh holding the outside line, trying to keep Bodefer at bay. And already the pole sitter into the outside wall. Newen slaps it hard out of turn number 2. Loses a handful of spots. How damaged is that number 6 car now, as he is going to be well outside of the top 5 now?
Way outside of the top 5. Well, not way. He's in 6th place. Still contending for the position. But that car doesn't look clean as Barry goes into P1. And now you can see dropping a few spots back, because now he's going to go into 7th place, fighting with Jason Owens in the inside. And
whoa, look at Hollabaugh! Whoa, and saves it! Matt Hollabaugh in the 4 car having the ride of his life down the inside line. That was trying to go for the race lead around the inside of Andrew Barry. It didn't quite go his way, though. Got to the throttle a little bit too aggressively. Of course, don't forget, progressive banking down here, so you don't have as much grip down the inside as you would around the top, which is why a lot of these drivers, especially in 3 and 4, definitely favor that outside line. And Hollabaugh having a bit of a wild moment there, but he gets that thing settled. He'll be able to kind of restack it and go at it again. Here's the battle for 5th and 4th between Alex May and Jason Owens.
Yeah, Alex May and Jason Owens, really good battle over here, as now the tires built up its heat, so it's gonna be a little bit less rear towards the rear end, so it's gonna be less oversteering than usual, and you can pick up your lines cleanly as you continue in, try to climb up the field. Goes look on the inside, maybe have the position right here if he dives down properly.
It's right down to those red and white rumble strips down to the inside line as Hollabaugh sets the fastest lap. Frank Newen trying to run down Jason Owens, but he's going to lose time down the backstretch and actually give up a spot to Nicholas Sudik here in that number 1 car. So Sudik going to try to pull on the outside line of Newen, and looks like he will be able to actually maintain that position. We talk about how this track is so easy to get runs with the outside line. It can be honestly very, very difficult to try to maintain a run on the bottom side down these straightaways. It kind of resembles what NASCAR is experiencing right now in their Gen 6 package with that high downforce, low horsepower package.
Yeah, and imagine when the next gen comes. So it's going to be an interesting one, and the next gen carries way too much downforce. It's weird. I think we even saw a lap around Darlington in iRacing. You can even go up to 5th gear, which is the top gear right now in NASCAR, as there's a little bit of a look on the inside, or Jason Carr lost control on the exit.
I think that would honestly be a little bit more of a case of Jason Owens getting a little bit unsettled. That or just lost focus. I don't know why you'd want to go so far down to the wall like that. It's a bit of an excessive move for the defenses. Hollabaugh once again clicking away on a fastest lap. So Hollabaugh trying to regain lost time from P11, trying to work his way up through the order. We keep it single file so far. Jason Owens trying to make up the spot on Alex May. Look at May pushing really wide out of turn 4. That kind of allows Owens to get a bit of a drive on the bottom side, but it's not enough to properly go for any kind of move. There is a move further up the field, though. How about the number 2 car of Jeffrey McClintock going for third, trying to go for the lead as well, but has to back out to avoid putting Barry into the wall.
And apparently, I think May actually nudged the wall on the back, opens the door for Owens to go on the inside. But let's continue the battle here as Bodefor trying to work Barry outside of turn number 3 and 4. Try to get the good run into it so he can dive down on turn number 1. But Barry well held on the outside line.
Oh, and you can see just further behind, Jason Owens almost running over Alex May on entry to turns 1 and 2. McClintock drops back once again out of second place. And Alex May, will he make the look for third place? He does not. Tucks this one in line. Jason Owens and Sudik going side by side. This is all allowing this field about 14 cars strong to slowly close in the gap. See, it is one long line of cars. Nobody is split up in their individual groups anymore. And still the top 2 looking to work together with Bodefor and Barry. Not opting to make any moves for the position just yet. And I think it's a bit of a wise move, especially since it's so difficult, as we discussed before, to complete a pass. How about Sudik, though? Round the outside of New and round the outside of May down the backstretch.
Yeah, and one thing that I'm liking over here, but it's a little bit of a nerve wrack in comparison to what we had last season, is that the field is so closer to one another. I think the only guys that are kind of like broken off from the pack is Kinder and Paydu. Everybody else relatively within close contention with one another. Even Williams, which is 2.3 seconds away from Barry right now, still can be within contention if something happens, as Hollybaugh again on qualifying pace laps, doing the fastest lap again. It's going to be interesting how this breaks off, because everybody's close to one another, and it just shows that this season it's overtaking is much more difficult than what we were having last season.
And look at the John Bodefor and Jason Owens having to battle up there for second and third place. Bodefor not quite clear. Owens will find the inside of turn 1, trying to make the run on Andrew Barry, but we've seen this before. Will not be able to pull the speed around, and he'll end up dropping right back down to third place where he started. So the top 5 going to single file this out deeper in the field, trying to go almost 3 wide, as once again Bodefor down to the inside, this time trying to maintain second place. Owens finding the outside lane, and I think that mistake from Bodefor to open up the outside.
Overtake, but unfortunately, you get the better run outside of 4, but if you're within close draft of sorts, you can still contend for the position like Bodefor did, but here comes the switchback. You can still contend for the position like Bodefor did, but here comes the switchback from Owens inside of 3.
And John Bodefor looking to potentially try to cover, but it's not going to be any dice, so Bodefor's going to tuck in line. Here goes Owens for the race lead on Andrew Barry down to the turn number 1. Can he get clear through 1 and 2? Looks like he will be able to just do that, so Andrew Barry loses the race lead. And look at McClintock falling back deeper in the field, as already you see Jason Owens trying to weave left and right, trying to break the draft, but that only opens up the outside for Barry to sweep through.
Yeah, but if Barry does not slip through, he's going to hang back a little bit more than usual. As if he's going to look for the run on the inside to try to claw back his lead. It took Owens 12 laps to get the lead this time around, because last race he actually got that on lap 1.
Tell you what, this is some absolutely thrilling racing that we're seeing here. You can see Owens looking to defend big time, trying to keep both lines at bay. Here comes Bodefor, though, multi-time winner just this season alone, around the outside line. He's going to lose a bit of time. Back to Andrew Barry on the entry of turn 3. And tell you what, we're seeing a lot closer race than we did last year as well. How about the lunge further in the field from Matt Hollibaugh trying to find the inside of McClintock, but that pass goes nowhere down the front straightaway. You got a huge horde of cars in here. This looks like a high-speed pace slap at the moment.
You know what this looks like of sorts? I'm getting Charlotte feelings right here.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
right?
The racing has been like so unbelievably close so far this week. I mean, this is definitely not what we saw, the last time we were here at the Worldwide Technology Race. But we had that wreck at about lap 5, I think it was, and then from there the racing just split apart. And if we couldn't get a couple of cars within a couple seconds of each other, but here this race, he got the entire field under a blanket of 1.6 seconds minus the bottom 2.
Yeah, can you even sneeze at this race? Are you even allowed to sneeze? Because if you do, you might lose a spot.
you still see this interesting dynamic between drivers trying to open up the outside line and a couple of guys trying to run the inside line with drafting help as well. Of course, these cars not having to deal with as much dirty air as the Dallara IR18s have to contend with whenever they make their appearances here. You kind of wonder if that has to contribute with how this inside line has been playing out. As how about John Bodever going to go to the race lead, takes that one around the outside line of Jason Owens into turn one. Sudik tries to follow through. Owens fighting back from the inside though. That's a lunge from the bottom, and he's going to clear off of 4.
And nearly, I think I nearly saw contact between McClintock on the back, the number 2, and the driver in the back might be Corsa on the outside line because of the lines are being so close to one another. And you watch, just doing his job, as you can see, Owens have to keep like sneaking down on the inside and trying to make the move.
The switchbacks coming every single corner. How about Sudik trying to find his nose down the inside line of John Bodever all the way through 3 and 4. That's going to give the run to the 8 car, though, down this front straightaway. Expect another look down to the turn 1. No move, though. Bodever backs out of that one, actually, and allows for Jason Owens to retain the race lead for at least turns 1 and 2 here. And that causes a little bit of an accordion effect deeper in the field, which kind of helps these guys single file out further behind. But there you can see now we're just going to try to go back to the race lead as Owens is forced on defense. Sudik, though, definitely trying to play spoiler in the battle for the lead.
Yeah, he had to go for it at some point and finally make the move. And I think what makes it a little bit easier for Sudik, I was going to say maybe get clean air on the outside line depending on the run, but Bodever is thinking otherwise. And it's going to make it a little bit difficult because now he retains the lead once again, but it's for a few splits of a second.
And you saw in the front straightaway, Sudik trying to make it 3 wide for the lead, but Bodever was there and didn't leave the door open for him to make it 3 abreast. That means that Jason Owens a little bit further safe for the lead as they battle side by side for P2. There's the defense from Owens looking to break the draft, and Bodever, you saw immediately jump back down to try and follow.
You know, that line from Owens, I don't know if he's actually weaving it down in the inside as Sudik has a little bit of a grind on the wall, but the car's still in one piece. You know, part of me thinks that the car just gets loose outside of 4, and he has to weave it down on the inside to break. No, he actually is literally doing that to break the toe out of the driver. I honestly thought the car was loose, and he actually has to weave it on the inside for a little bit to just hit that car.
And it makes sense that you're doing that when you're up in the race lead. It doesn't make sense when you're doing it with cars behind you already. If you're, say 3rd, 4th, 5th, which he was doing earlier on in the race, which is why I think that one moment earlier was when he kind of just lost the car a little bit, but now he is definitely attempting to break that draft. But Bodever has cleared for 2nd place, and he's cleared by some margin. He is clear to try to run down Jason Owens up there in the lead as they go side by side for 3rd and 4th. Frank Newen lost a few spots earlier on. He is trying to regain lost ground, looks up the inside and takes 3rd place away from Sudik. Looking for the lead as well, though. Jason Owens left that door wide open, and Bodever took all the advantage he could out of it through 1 and 2.
Yeah, but it's starting to look like the outside line or the middle outside line going to turn number 1 is looking a bit superior. If you have a good run, like you probably have a half a car on the outside going into the turn, because on the inside what happens, you kind of have to be side by side and seal the deal doing the transition between 1 and 2 and then get away from it. As Sudik now, Sudik does the best lap with the 31-100, and things are getting interesting at this halfway point of the race.
How about Newen to the inside with a huge dive bomb on Sudik into turn number 3. Will that move pay off and down the front straightaway, though? That's the big question. Has the nose just barely ahead, but Sudik's going to have the run thanks to the draft. I think Newen will be able to take this one here, though, into turn number 1, unless Sudik can really work that outside line, and looks like the 1 car might do just that, but he has to back out. He's too far up out of the groove.
Yeah, and now you can see Sudik getting a little bit of a better run on the outside, but because of this draft swap, it's making things complicated as they go into 3 and 4. You can see Hollybot trying to go on the outside of Andrew Berry, but it's not getting a good run into it, and they're probably going to go 3 wide into the start-finish line.
And 25 down, 25 to go, halfway here in Madison at the Worldwide Technology Raceway, and what an exciting race it has been so far. How many lead changes have we already had over the course of the night? How many are we yet to have before this race is complete? Sudik still mounted a charge on Frank Newen. The battle for third still far from over as the 6 car tries to keep Sudik at bay down to the turn 3. And looks like Newen will be able to do just that. What a race it has been so far, though. I mean, this has just been a thrill to watch.
It's been a thrill to watch, and I think it only took this race about 27 laps ran to start to break off a little bit in terms of small packs, but everybody's still within close contention to one another as Bodywork goes into the lead.
I was about to say I wouldn't count those chickens yet as having them be split apart. When the top 2 get side by side, that's what compresses the whole field right back down. Does Jason Owens make the look to go back for the race into turn 1? He does not. He backs out and keeps this one steady. That was another for to Sudik to go to third, trying to go to second into turn number 1. And that 1 car has to hold that thing down the inside line. Look out, though! Sudik spins down! And it's a 360 spin. Saves it, but the caution flag flies. What a good save, though, for Nicholas Sudik.
Oh, what a save from Sudik. I think the New Yorker managed to save that car just in time and niftily, and also really good 360 no-scope spin right there to avoid the car getting more damage on the wall.
Take a look at the replay here. Just lost it by himself. 360 slide and doesn't even get onto the grass with that thing. That was a great save for the number 1 car. Just gathered it up and some smoked out tires. But other than that, that car is a clean race car. So under caution for the first time tonight. And it took lap 28 for us to be able to get that first yellow flag. But what an exciting race we had. And we get set to stack it up and do it all again for the final 20.
Yeah, as we're seeing some drivers just diving down onto the pit box, maybe get a little bit of fresh rubber. But then we come with the strategies because some drivers staying out. I think I saw, was it Tovskaya staying out? I think Owens is coming in. Basically, half the field is coming in, to be very honest. But it's going to be interesting for those who are out of the track. And what do they do at this point of the race? Because now, this is something we haven't seen the last race. Because the yellow flag came so early on. What does happen with these 3 cars on the track?
They must think they can be able to make this one to the end as it is. What they'll be able to keep up the pace is obviously a question. Andrew Berry stayed out, so did McClintock and Ozretstov-Skaya. Everybody else is in pit road, so now you just have to wonder what's all going to happen here. Frank Newen had a bad stop. You saw he had to back up into his pit box. He's going to be losing a ton of spots on pit road. Bodefer let them down. He will lead them off as well in the race off pit road. Frank Newen losing now to Alex May as well. He is going to be probably just outside the top 10.
Yeah, just outside of the top 10, as Hugo spotted a few Clemson Tigers fans in the pit crew right there. Apparently, I think that's from Clemson. Well, that's what my well, you're the more collegiate guy than I am, Nolan. I try to follow collegiate sports in the United States, but I think that's the Clemson Tigers anyway. I think the interesting point to talk about in this race is these 3 guys: Andrew Berry, McClintock, and Zaratovskaya. The strategy for them, staying out on the track, you know you're going to have that worn out rubber. On paper, you're a sitting duck, right? Because it is Gateway or Worldwide Technology Raceway track, it's a track that invites attrition. Are they investing on possible future yellow flags and then staying as long as they possibly can with those yellow flags?
I think this is going to be the big ticket question, isn't it? I mean, this is definitely something you're going to have to watch out for. That's what ended this last race we had here under the yellow flag, if you don't remember. And it's what ended our earlier Charlotte race under the yellow flags as well. Yep. So it seems that these races have a tendency to finish under the yellow flag behind the safety car, but hopefully we will not be seeing that today. It was between 6.2 seconds and 7.8 second stops all the way throughout the field. So that tells me a couple of guys took tires. A couple of guys probably took not, and I imagine Andy Corso with only a 6.2 second stop would be one of those guys that ended up not taking tires, maybe topped up on fuel a little bit. Make sure you were good to go to the end of this race. Pace car getting set though to pull down the pit road. It'll be 19 laps to go. Single file restarts, as is tradition here in the Road to Indy series, along with the IndyCar series, and Andrew Berry already looking to stack the field up on the outside line, and they file up along him. we get set to go back racing. How long does Barry hold that field out of turn number 4? Just there, goes for the launch, and we're back underway from Gateway.
As we're looking at the crowd, just appreciating Barry, the flagman just waving that green flag. We're underway, and let's see how does those 3 guys on the worn out tires fare against the competition, as Bodefor now is on a huge charge against all of them.
And McClintock hit the outside wall out of turn 2. He's going to lose out on podium spots very early on. John Bodefor trying to find the inside of the rest of Skya. Look at the speed that Bodefor has. Quick to the back end down and keeps it together, though, and mounts the charge on the number 13 down the front straightaway.
What a hold from the Alpine Star geodesic driver. Going into out of turn number 4, now into turn number 1, seals the deal, and is the first car out of the bunch that managed to make the overtake. But Skya, I like that she's fighting back. She doesn't want to sell that position easy.
And all of this is allowing Andrew Barry to pull away up in front. The gap, 1.5 seconds. That's the largest that gap has been all race long. Bodefor cannot afford to be fighting here with the rest of Skya. He has got to get this battle settled soon if he's going to have any shot at trying to go back for the race lead. The gap now 1.8 seconds, almost up to 1.7 as well. Just there, Bodefor finally clears. I think now he'll be free to try to run down Andrew Barry, but not Jason Owens has anything to say about it.
Yeah, Jason Owens have something to say about it. Goes for the move, makes the overtake. Hollybot now on the far outside line will get the run on of Skya eventually. As we go one more lap, 35 out of 50 ran into this track, and the gap kind of stabilized between 1.8 to 1.7 seconds between Barry and Owens.
Jeffrey McClintock is down to pit road. Alex Mayes follow. Both drivers having some scrapes with the outside wall, and evidently the damage too much for them to be able to contend with throughout the rest of this race. You still see the gap 1.9 seconds now, and it is only growing between these 2 drivers, and Jason Owens now has P2. If I'm John Bodefor, I'm going to actually work with Jason Owens to kind of push you guys back up there to Andrew Barry. You cannot afford to be stuck battling guys in here. That's not going to help you trying to go for race win, especially when you're in the second half already.
Or let the other guy take charge. If you know that you both are faster, you have better tires, and you want someone else to lead the charge, waste that rubber, hey, and you can save yours. That's a smart move. That is what I call the 200 IQ move. But I think Bodefor has some other thoughts. Or not.
Gonna stick with it. Gonna give the bump trap down that front straightaway. 31.303 and 31.2 for Bodefor and Jason Owens that last time by. 31.359 for Andrew Barry. So they were a little faster, but only just. And I have a feeling this could still be an interesting one as Sudik now sets the fastest lap of the race. And you still see them battling in the background as well. Frank Newman trying to look down the inside of Andy Corsa. This is down for being number 7. Corsa did not set a qualifying lap earlier today and going to lose out spots both Sudik and Frank Newman. And Brian Williams now under fire in the number 10.
Under some huge fire right there as now Bodefor kind of covers off Skya on the inside. Corsa on the middle line, trying to be within good run from Frank Nguyen. On the inside, you can see that might be Watson right there, trying to fight with Sudik as they still go side by side into 3 and 4.
And Nguyen gets clear of Brian Williams, and Williams still has James Watson to contend with from the inside line, but Watson falls back to more battle with Sudik, and Andy Corsa, you see, starting to work his way up in the picture of this thing.
A little bit of a wiggle, I think, looks like for Williams on the entry of turn number into the entry of turn number 1.
And don't look now, but that battle for the race lead is starting to very slowly close on in. It's a little bit every lap, and with 11 laps to go, they might just be able to close that gap in by the time they hit that white flag lap. But I think at the moment, they would not. Oh, hard to the wall for Brian Williams. The 10 car going to surely be out of this race from that. Destroyed front wing. No caution yet, though. And it looks like we're going to get away without that one. Destroyed suspension as well. Wheel-to-wheel contact. And you saw the leak. That sent Williams hard into the outside wall.
Yeah, that's Williams way hard into the outside wall. A little bit of I think miscommunication between the spacing out of the drivers going to turn number 1 and Sudik being on the inside line. Just couldn't do anything about it. Just touched the wheels out of Williams on the entry, and boom goes the number 10 into the wall. That's basically race over for Williams.
Take another look at this one here, down to the turn number 1, and there you saw it into the outside wall, big time for the number 10, destroying the entire right side suspension, front and rear on that machine. And once again, the gap, we talked about it continuing to close. 1.3 seconds the gap this time by, and both drivers still that little bit quicker than Andrew Berry this last time by. They're continuing to slowly close in that gap, but they've got to hit their marks and be consistently faster. All they have to do is get within drafting distance, and they'll almost surely reel them back in.
Yeah, they're gonna surely reel Berry in eventually. I think in about 3 or 4 laps he's gonna be within drafting range. But what impresses me the most is what the job that Lyubov is doing right here. She's in 4th place, so she's the second car out of those with worn out tires, and still she's keeping up with the pack, right? Even though both drivers are pushing hard as they can. I think there's a little bit of a grind for Botafour on the outside line into the wall, but it still keeps the car within touch, and the job she's doing is nothing short of phenomenal.
Oh, absolutely, and it's the fact that she is being so patient with this that is allowing them to close in that gap. I talked about it earlier, how you cannot afford to be fighting each other. I think it took these guys a couple of laps to figure that out. You saw how much they were going side by side in the 3 or 4 laps immediately on the restart, but as soon as those laps ended, they began to single file down, and now they have been single file. A couple of little looks here or there, but there hasn't been anything major. They've more just been keeping out of each other's way, and she has been allowing Botafour and Oz to do all the work, and she's just been kind of along for the ride as the gap goes down to 1.2.
And I think you hit the nail on the head right here, because look at, not right here, I think not here might not be the best example. Look how they're going to go into turn number 1 in about 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3 into turn number 1. 3 lines for each driver. Even though Lyubov stays a little bit more into the inside line, she's still just a little bit away from the arrow wash that is given from Jason Owens. Therefore, all 3 drivers, and even Hollybaugh stays on the far outside line, they can give good room to one another for a good run.
5 laps to go, and Lyubov is done waiting. Those Skaya trying to pick up 3rd. John Botafour desperately trying to close back into Jason Owens, and that was a little bit of a wake up from Botafour. I think just kind of giving the message, stay behind us. We're going to catch them if you don't do this. But because she made that look, that gap that they've been working so hard to try to close, just extended by another 10th. That might be the nail in the coffin for this battle for the lead.
If they have to basically nail it by 0.2 of a second or even 3 at 1 lap, and as now Hollybaugh is done waiting.
Hollybaugh is going to pick up 4th, and John Botafour trying to reel in Jason Owens and continue to push of the gap. Now down to just 1 second. They still have a chance. They are within a second just a moment ago, and they're still trying to push each other to work their way up there. 1.1 the gap, it'll be 3 laps to go, but they're running out of time.
I think time is out, to be very honest. They have to battle for P2. I think Barry has this one in the bag.
If they can get within a second and be able to properly close me with the draft that way while bump drafting, maybe. It is a solid maybe. Under a second for the first time all day long. They are within drafting distance. They have to utilize everything down the backstretch and the front stretch. They want to try to close Andrew Berry in.
Yeah, but they realize it's like you're wishing basically on a Sparky Star that you're going to get really close. You have to be right about 0.6 of a second. This is not an easy track to overtake. You usually take about 3 or 4 laps to do what you have to do in about 1 lap. So, in my opinion, that's why Andrew Berry, with that restart, basically sealed the deal and is going to win this race.
That gap still closing with 2 to go, down to 6.5 tenths, and it is continuing to close. John Botafour hasn't given up on this bid for the race lead yet. I think he's hoping maybe Owens will get desperate and try to send one up the inside of Berry if he can catch him. The gap, just half a second now, and we start the final lap of this race. This fight ain't over just yet. Under half a second, Jason Owens is closing in. He has got the number 5 car dead in his sights. vortex again now. Owens sets the fastest lap of the race as they enter 1 and 2 for the final time today. John Bodenver swings wide and continues to get the bump to Jason Owens. Hollowell hits the wall. He'll lose time and might lose position to of Sky into turn 2 though. Bodenver sends it and takes it number 2. And Bodenver trying to run down Andrew Berry, but it's not going to be enough. And Andrew Berry will hold on to take the win of the Worldwide Technology Raceway.
Wow. What a wild finish. I think I know what Jason Owens might be saying for Bodenver right now. But then again, this is a final lap shenanigans right here, right now, as the fireworks at the Madison, Illinois track goes off. We're going to have our official results here, but Andrew Berry, what a restart, and holding everybody with worn out tires, and the pit strategy working on it in his favor.
Oh my word, that was absolutely insane from what we were be able to see today. I mean, what a run for Andrew Berry to take a race victory away, and you see Berry looking to burn it down. That restart definitely helped him, but I think it was Lyubov's move with about 4 laps to go down the inside of Bodenver that sealed the deal. So with this all said and done, let's take a look at your official post-race results here for the Worldwide Technology Raceway from Madison, Illinois. Andrew Berry takes victory, holding off the storm as John Bodenver takes out Jason Owens for P number 2. Matt Hollowell picks up a shock 3rd place as a result, with Lyubov as the rest of Skya unable to complete the pass after Hollowell hit the wall for 4th. And Frank Newman rounds out the top 5. James Watson is down in P6 with Andy Corsa in 7th. Nicholas Sudik is in 8th. Sebastian Kinder is down in 9th with Stephen Thompson to round out the top 10.
And the last guys in the field, Jason Pato in 11th, Jason Owens 12th, Alex May 13th, Jeffrey McClintock in 14th, and Brian Williams in 15th place.
And that rounds out the field, and Hollowell ending up managing to just steal fastest lap away. But what a drive from John Bodenver and Jason Owens. You talk about those two drivers managing to work their way from a 1.8 second gap, and they got within 3/10. I'm going to be honest here. If they had one more lap to work with, they would have gotten him. Like, they just needed that one more lap.
I think I agree in closing the gap towards Berry, but I probably would think that Berry still would take it, because then again, like I mentioned, this is a very hard track for you to seal the deal, because eventually when the tires get worn, you can kind of use the groove of the track, especially the outside line, if you get it really nicely and basically hold your position, hold your ground. But other than that, I think this is probably another fantastic edition of racing that we had at Gateway. We had a really good banger last season, but this one tops it all off in all categories at all in the track.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this was by far, I would say, a better oval race than Charlotte. I mean, Charlotte, we were kind of just holding our breath the entire time, waiting for the inevitable to happen with how much everybody was trying to bump draft up and down throughout the field. This race was a bit more clinical, but it was still nice and close, especially, in the first 30 laps. And you take a look at, what it was like in the final laps as well. And it goes to show you can have good oval races anywhere. And the next race is far from an oval. It is, of course, Mount Panorama over at Bathurst in Australia. And oh boy, you talk about a track where you cannot afford to make a mistake anywhere. That is definitely high on the list.
Yeah, made the driver that makes the less mistakes or no mistakes survive. This is basically Squid Game with wheels.
And that is, I believe, the longest racetrack we have on the calendar as well, and the first race in November. So it'll be no doubt a very entertaining race coming up at Bathurst, and one that we might see some of the attrition that we have seen in races prior definitely returning. The walls leave no room for error, and it is a racetrack where you're going to be fighting the track as much as you will each other. But for now, from Madison, Illinois, I'm Manolo Rempo with Lorenzo Bonder beside me in the commentary box. Hugo Luis down behind the cameras. Thank you for joining us for round 7 of the iRacing Indy Pro 2000 Championship presented by Cooper Tires. We'll see you all next week down south in Australia.